Welcome to Brain Booster's YouTube channel. In today's episode, we will be discussing the West African nation of Guinea-Bissau. It is important to note that this country should not be confused with Guinea, as they are two distinct nations. The capital of Guinea-Bissau is Bissau. We will be exploring the country's history, politics, economy, and culture, so stay with us until the end of the podcast for a comprehensive understanding of this fascinating nation. Guinea-Bissau has a long and complex history, marked by centuries of colonialism and struggle for independence. The region that is now Guinea-Bissau was first inhabited by tribes of the Susu and Balanta people, who had their own distinct cultures and traditions. In the 15th century, the Portuguese arrived and established trade relations with the local tribes. However, it was not until the 19th century that the Portuguese began to exert more direct control over the region and established it as a colony. During the colonial period, the people of Guinea-Bissau faced forced labor, forced relocation, and other forms of exploitation and oppression. In the 1940s and 1950s, a liberation movement began to emerge, led by figures such as Amilcar Cabral. This movement aimed to free Guinea-Bissau from colonial rule and establish an independent nation. The struggle for independence was a long and difficult one, marked by armed conflict and political upheaval. In 1973, the independence movement declared the independence of Guinea-Bissau, but it was not until September 24, 1973 that Portugal officially recognized the independence of Guinea-Bissau. Since independence, the country has faced numerous challenges, including coups and political instability. Despite these difficulties, Guinea-Bissau has managed to maintain its independence and continue to develop as a nation. Guinea-Bissau currently operates under a semi-presidential representative democratic republic system, with a president as head of state and a prime minister as head of government. The president is elected by popular vote for a 5-year term, while the prime minister is appointed by the president and approved by the National People's Assembly. The political landscape in Guinea-Bissau is complex and often marked by instability. There have been several military coups and attempted coups since independence, and political power has often been concentrated in the hands of a small elite. This has led to a lack of effective governance and ongoing economic and social challenges. There are several major political parties in Guinea-Bissau, including the African Party for the Independence of Guinea and Cape Verde, PAIC, the Party for Social Renewal, PRS, and the Guinea-Bissau Social Democratic Party, PSD. The PAIGC, which was the ruling party during the struggle for independence, has traditionally been the dominant political force in the country. However, in recent years there has been a fragmentation of political parties and alliances, making it difficult to predict the future political landscape of the country. Despite the challenges, the government of Guinea-Bissau has been making efforts to promote stability and democracy, and has received support from international organizations such as the African Union and the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS. Guinea-Bissau has a relatively small and underdeveloped economy, with a GDP of around $1.1 billion in 2020. The country is heavily dependent on agriculture, which employs around 80% of the population and accounts for around 40% of GDP. The main agricultural products are peanuts, cashew nuts, and rice. Fishing, forestry and mining also contribute to the economy, but to a lesser extent. The country has a lack of infrastructure and limited access to markets and services, making it difficult to develop the economy. Additionally, the country has faced a number of political and security challenges in recent years, which have further hindered economic development. The country is also facing a significant challenge on the economic front, since it has been facing high inflation and currency depreciation, which has led to a decline in purchasing power and economic instability. This is partly caused by the lack of diversification in the economy, which makes it highly dependent on the export of agricultural products. The government of Guinea-Bissau has been working to address these challenges, and has received support from international organizations such as the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund, IMF. Additionally, there are some ongoing projects and investments in the country that aim to improve infrastructure and promote economic growth, such as the construction of new ports and airports, and the development of the agricultural and tourism sectors. Guinea-Bissau is a country with a rich and diverse cultural heritage, shaped by a mix of indigenous, African, and Portuguese influences. The indigenous cultures of the Susu and Balanta people, who have lived in the region for centuries, form the foundation of the country's cultural heritage. However, the arrival of the Portuguese in the 15th century brought new influences, including religion, language, and customs. This mix of indigenous and colonial influences has created a unique and vibrant culture that is an integral part of the national identity. The country's cultural heritage is expressed in many forms, from traditional music and art to festivals and ceremonies. It also encompasses the customs and beliefs that have been passed down through generations and continue to be practiced today. Throughout this podcast episode, we will explore the cultural heritage of Guinea-Bissau and its diverse influences, highlighting the music, art, and traditional customs that make it unique. One of the most important aspects of Guinea-Bissau's cultural heritage is its traditional music. The country has a rich and diverse musical tradition, characterized by the use of drums, percussion instruments, and other traditional instruments. The most popular traditional music style is called gum, which originated in the region and is characterized by complex rhythms and call-and-response vocals. Gum music is played with a variety of drums, including the djem and the tama, as well as other percussion instruments such as the balafon and the kora. The lyrics of gum songs often address social and political issues, as well as traditional customs and beliefs. Gum music is an important part of the cultural heritage of Guinea-Bissau, and it is often played at festivals, ceremonies, and other important events. The origins of gum can be traced back to the days of slavery, when slaves were not allowed to express their culture and traditions. They used to use music and dance as a way to communicate, share stories, and express themselves. The musical style was shaped by the rhythms and melodies of the different ethnic groups in the region, such as the Balanta, Fula, and Mandinka. Today, gum is a representation of the country's diverse cultural heritage, and it continues to be an important part of the national identity. Art is an important aspect of Guinea-Bissau's cultural heritage, and traditional art forms such as sculpture, pottery, and textiles play a significant role in the country's cultural identity. Sculpture is a traditional art form that has a long history in the country. Many of the sculptures are made of wood, and they often depict figures from traditional stories and myths, as well as everyday life. They are used in rituals and ceremonies and are considered sacred objects. Pottery is another traditional art form that is widely practiced in Guinea-Bissau. Potters use a variety of techniques to create functional and decorative objects, such as bowls, vases, and jars. These objects are often decorated with intricate patterns and designs, and they are used in a variety of contexts, from everyday life to rituals and ceremonies. Textiles are also an important aspect of the traditional art in the country, particularly for the Balanta people, who are known for their intricate and colorful textiles, such as kente cloth. These textiles are often used in traditional clothing and are also used to decorate homes and public spaces. These traditional art forms are not only aesthetically pleasing, but they also have a cultural significance. They are often used in rituals, ceremonies, and are an important part of the cultural heritage of the country, and they are also used to express the identity and values of the people and communities. Guinea-Bissau's cultural heritage also encompasses a wide range of traditional customs and practices, many of which are deeply rooted in the country's history and continue to be an important part of the national identity. One of the most significant traditional customs is ancestor worship, which is widely practiced in the country. Ancestor worship is the belief in the continued existence of the spirits of deceased ancestors and the possibility to communicate with them. Ancestors are considered to be protectors and guides, and their spirits are invoked during rituals and ceremonies. The spirits of ancestors are honored and respected, and they play a central role in the daily lives of many people in Guinea-Bissau. Religious rituals and ceremonies are also an important part of the traditional customs and practices in the country. The majority of the population is Muslim and animist, but there are also followers of Christianity and traditional beliefs. Religious rituals and ceremonies often involve the use of music, dance, and other forms of artistic expression, and they are often accompanied by offerings and sacrifices. These customs and practices are an essential part of the cultural heritage of Guinea-Bissau, and they reflect the country's unique history, values, and beliefs. They are also an important part of the daily life of the communities and are passed on from generation to generation. Guinea-Bissau is home to a wide range of festivals and ceremonies that are an important part of the country's cultural heritage. One of the most significant of these is the Tabanka Festival, which is celebrated annually at the end of the agricultural season and the beginning of the dry season. The Tabanka Festival is a time of celebration and gratitude, marking the end of the harvest and the beginning of the dry season. It is a time for families and communities to come together and celebrate their achievements, and to give thanks for the blessings of the past year. The festival is marked by music, dancing, and traditional customs and practices, such as ancestor worship and religious rituals. The festival is celebrated by many ethnic groups in the country, such as the Balanta, Fula, and Mandinka, and it is also an opportunity for different communities to come together and share their cultures and traditions. The Tabanka Festival is an important part of the cultural heritage of Guinea-Bissau, and it is a celebration of the country's history, customs, and beliefs. Festivals and ceremonies like the Tabanka are an important part of the cultural heritage of Guinea-Bissau. They bring people together, celebrate their heritage and tradition, and help to keep alive the customs and beliefs that are an integral part of the country's identity. In this podcast episode, we have explored the cultural heritage, political situation, economic situation, and historical background of Guinea-Bissau. We have discussed the traditional music, including the popular gum style, the traditional art forms such as sculpture, pottery, and textiles, and their cultural significance. We also have explained the traditional customs and practices, including ancestor worship and religious rituals, and have described important festivals and ceremonies, such as the Tabanka Festival. We have also discussed the country's colonial history, its struggle for independence, current state of politics in Guinea-Bissau, including information on the government and political parties, as well as an overview of the country's economy and main industries, and any challenges or issues it currently faces. Guinea-Bissau is a country with a rich and diverse cultural heritage that is an integral part of the national identity. The country is home to a wide range of festivals and ceremonies that bring people together and celebrate their heritage and tradition. The traditional music, art, and customs are an important part of the country's cultural heritage, and they help to keep alive the customs and beliefs that are an integral part of the country's identity. Despite facing economic and political challenges, the country has a rich history, culture, and tradition that worth to explore. We would like to thank our listeners for staying with us until the end of the podcast episode, and we invite you to subscribe to our channel and check out our other podcast episodes. Thank you for listening.